Life isn't about finding the shelter in the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. My guest today embodies this. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Spirited Conversations with Defense Veterans. Sameer Oak, my guest today, is a naval veteran with 24 years of service. His sea tenure includes INS Dunagiri, INS Sindhuvir, and as chief engineer of INS Vela, the oldest operational submarine at that time. He's been awarded with a Chief of Naval Staff and Flag Office Commanding with Office Commendation in 2006. After retiring prematurely in 2020, he chose to give his knowledge and service to the MSME sector, his way of contributing into Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat. More about that in his story. A freak accident on the golf course during his service has set him back into the path of fitness. Since then, he has participated in 3 triathlons, 3 full marathons, and a half marathon, in addition to be qualified as a sea swimmer. So friends, I present to you Commander from the Indian Navy, Sameer Oak. Sameer, thank you so much for giving me your time and willingness to share your story.
It's really an honor to do that, Aparna.
I always wondered what made you go about and join the naval service?
So I joined the academy, that is the National Defense Academy, in 1992 as a part of the 88th course of the National Defense Academy.
Okay.
After that, I
It's
did
in Pune?
in Pune,
In
Kadakwaska.
Okay.
Yeah. So then after that, for the naval cadets, there's a natural course of training which happens at Cochin on a training ship called INS Tir. So
Okay.
we got our sea legs, as they call, on INS Tir. After which I opted for joining the engineering branch. So I came back to INS Shivaji, which is in Lonavala, to do biomechanical engineering course for 3 years.
Okay.
It was subsequently followed up by a marine engineering course, specialization course. Once I finished that, I immediately joined basic submarine school because I always wanted to be a submariner since the time I'd first sailed on the submarine way back in 1995. So, as a natural progression from this school to that school, I landed up in submarine school, and I got qualified as a submariner in 2002. And thereafter, I worked on a submarine for a year. Then I've got a exposure in the naval dockyard, Vishakhapatnam. And my longest and my best tenure was on the oldest sailing submarine in the world at that point in time, called INS Vela. So I operated that boat as a chief engineer for about more than 28 months.
Wow.
After that, unfortunately, I had an accident and I lost my right eye. It was a very freak accident on the golf course. So, anyways, notwithstanding this small debacle, I was then transferred to Mumbai, where I had exposure in something known as a submarine overseeing team, which was looking after the Scorpion submarine project. Scorpion submarines, which two of them, they are the latest submarines which have been inducted by the Indian Navy,
Okay.
being built at Mazgaon Docks Limited in Mumbai, and with a technical collaboration with the DCNS of France. So I was there for about 4 years overlooking that project, but that time it was in a very nascent stage. So I got to look at submarine construction right from how the hull is constructed and how the equipments go in. So after that, I came back to my alma mater at INS Shivaji, and I was heading the Naval College of Engineering there. After that came my last posting in Pune as Quality Assurance Officer and Head of Establishment of Quality Assurance Unit in Pune. We do quality assurance inspections of all the equipment that is supplied to the Indian Navy from the Pune region, Pune and Maharashtra region, except Mumbai. So that is where I got a phenomenal exposure to industry as such. Before that, I had very less exposure to the industry, and once I got that exposure, I realized that the true strength of production in India, if we have to make in India dream come true, lies in something known as MSMEs.
Right.
Micro, small, medium enterprises. So I basically, in that job, I could do whatever I could in my small capacity to help the MSMEs to grow further, and did a lot of workshops for them and stuff like that. And then I decided at that point in time, if I have to leave service, anyways, I had decided to quit service. So I said, if I have to leave, I will not. I had offers from bigger companies also, like L&T at Talegaon and Mahindra Defense, but I said I will join an MSME. So here am I working for a company called Shri Refrigerations Private Limited as the vice president of the marine business. And this company is located in Karad, which is about 150 kilometers from Pune. And we are currently carrying out a very big project for the Indian Navy, about a 200 CR project. And I'm very happy to be a formative part of the group.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
all the experience I had in service is now helping.
While transitions happen with everybody, right? I think the biggest transition that people ever make is moving out from defense to civil.
Yes.
That's, I think, has a lot of churning and a lot of transformation that people in defense go through. So from your standpoint, right, what kind of attitudes or mindsets that you find different?
Yeah, so fortunately in my company the company is as disciplined as probably the Forge is. Everybody knows their job, everybody sticks to their timings, everybody does their job, everybody overworks, since we are building up the company per se. Though the company is quite old, the company is founded in 1989. But now we are looking towards a 10x growth. By the time I had joined the company, everybody was channelized into, so I had no problems of facing a discipline issue or something like that. So what I realized that I had to unlearn a lot of things.
Okay.
Simple fact being, we always talk about money in lakhs. In the private sector is talked about in millions. 10 lakhs is 1 million, and and just a basic example of what all I had to unlearn. I had to unlearn many things which I had learned in the Navy, which would not work in the corporate sector. So unlearning was a major debacle. Learning was happening side by side. It took a longer time to learn because we were working from home. Had we been in an office, the changeover process could have been slightly faster. But I am very happy that whatever said and done, I had a lot of handholding from my founder and my CEO. So that way the learning process is on, and probably my unlearning is hopefully now over, because unlearning is a very difficult thing, and I found it extremely difficult to unlearn certain things which Navy had taught me.
Awesome.
So for the first 6 months, being in the corporate, I used to think like a commander in the Navy. So I realized this will not work. What my views were and what work I used to do as a commander need not necessarily be, necessarily the other person or the other people in the Navy I interacted with, they have the same attitude. Those first 6 months were a little shaky in that matter. I had to lose all my ego of the stripes. So, once you hang your boots, you hang your boots. Then there is no looking back. Then you're no more a commander. You're just a Mr. Sameer Oak. So that I took about 3 odd months to learn and understand. After that, it was smooth sailing.
What would be the most cherishing moments that you had spent as a commander in Navy?
My most cherishing time, or the best appointment ever that I could have, and I will still want to go back to, is my submarine tenure on the submarine called INS Vela. So I was there on for 28 months. We sailed very heavily, but it was fun to be at sea. I loved being at sea. I loved being underwater. So that was my the most cherishing times of my career. In addition to I being very happy on the submarine, our submarine also had got something known as a unit citation for that year. Unit citation means basically the best ship or submarine in the Indian Navy.
Okay.
So we were rewarded well in terms of praise and accolades and all that. So notwithstanding these, that was the best time I had.
Right. So what about that underwater that fascinates you? Because if you ask anyone, they say underwater is amazing because you get to see the marine life, you get to see a different world. But when you're in submarine, you don't get to see anything. Exactly.
Yeah. So I am fascinated by the way the submarines operate.
Okay.
See, it's a very risky life down below. You are at 100 meters below the sea. The pressure on the submarine is about 10 bar. That is 10 times more than normal atmospheric pressure. Right. Plus, our submarine was old. Her pipelines are old. So, so that was kind of very exciting. You had to use a lot of technical expertise theoretically and more of it practically. Plus, the whole challenge and the adventure which went through sailing underwater is uncomparable. So that is what fascinated me the most.
Have there been any failures? Or what you can attribute as failures?
See, there have been many failures at times, nothing catastrophic, because in the submarine we are trained not to have not to have failures at all in the first place, but obviously not to have catastrophic failures at all. because you're risking your men, 100 men who are sailing on the submarine with you. Notwithstanding, I had a bit of failures, which you may call it inexperience. When I was working in the dockyard, I did certain things not in a certain manner. Kind of basic things which the forge very greatly looks at is hierarchy. So I had to get my work done. I had to focus on my work. So I just bypassed hierarchy, and it ruffled a lot of feathers. So even today I do these kind of things. So that I wouldn't say a failure as such, but I would say it as a debacle sort of thing.
Right.
So luckily, I was lucky that all my seniors and my peers and all, they supported me throughout my career. I never had fights with anybody in the Navy. My bosses always supported me. What I learned was by accident, not by failure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but how is failure even perceived in defense, right?
Uh,
Because the moment you, like you said, right, there could be a catastrophic failures,
correct.
which means
Correct.
that those are something which is everybody would know it because it comes in news. Like,
Yes.
if something
Yes.
happened in Air Force, there's
Yes.
a MiG crash or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But in Navy, underwater, a lot of things are not really. I mean, if you actually search for anything like that, there's nothing coming out from Navy.
Yes.
Are the naval forces more careful, or I mean, is it or it's played at a
It's
different
it's
level?
it's probably ingrained in our DNA at the time of our training. So
Okay.
we are made to do drills again and again and again and again and again. So especially on the submarines, even if you have an experience of say 28 months, we still undergo we ourselves do our drills and emergency trainings and all that. So to minimize failure, and if the equipment fails, then how you would react to it, how you would kind of immediately get the equipment failure under control, repair the equipment, surface the submarine, whatever it is. So it's like drilled ingrained in our DNA. So failures, there are failures. I don't say there are no failures, but there are. If you've seen, very less amount of failures are reported from the Navy side, except for the
Correct.
major failures which happened about 4 or 5 years ago. The submarine caught fire and sank alongside. So
Right.
apart from that, no major failures have been. I have not seen many, thankfully.
Yeah, touch wood.
Yeah,
The whole
absolutely,
idea. Yeah, the
absolutely,
whole.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So then what could be the biggest lesson that you have learned from your time in defense?
Since the time we joined the NDA, we are taught to adapt yourself to whatever the environment is, whatever the surrounding conditions are. So being adaptable and being undaunted was was ingrained into me. At least I managed to gather that trait whilst we were training at the NDA, which later on helped me when I lost my eye. So initially, for the first 7 days, I felt complete despair, and I thought I would get my eyesight back. And when my operation failed, there were about 10, 20 days of utter despair. I didn't know whether I'll continue in the Navy, whether I'll be thrown out. I had a small son, 2 years old. But that time, that training of adapting and staying undaunted, whatever be the case, it was surfaces. Your training surfaces. Plus, I had a lot of support from my wife. She was a pillar of support, and my parents too. My mother was with me in the hospital the entire duration of my hospitalization, so called, at Chennai Shankar Nethralaya. So probably I learned from that accident a lot. I learned that life is not very easy. Like I had it till then. Till 2007, life for me was very easy. It was a breeze. I was being successful and stuff like that. So then that accident changed my whole overlook as to as a human being, like you said, not necessarily as a Navy man, as a human being, what should your approach be to life? So that, and it came gradually. First it came as a shock, then it came as a despair, then it came as a struggle to prove that no, you don't have an eye, but you're still as good as anybody else amongst your peers. So it came in stages, despair, shock, and then adapting myself. And by 2009, I was up running marathons, doing sea swimming. So physically, I was as fit as anybody else, apart from the eye issue. So that this I attribute completely to my training in the ND and in the initial days of training in the Navy too.
We all know a lot of things, and a lot of times we know that this moment will pass on, everything
Very
will
true.
be all right, right?
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
However, when we are in that
Please.
situation where we
Yeah.
are extremely vulnerable,
Yeah.
right? No matter how much knowledge it is, it
I
doesn't
agree.
matter, right?
Yeah.
You are vulnerable, right?
Yes.
So, what did you do to deal with that vulnerability?
Uh, see, I was in Shankar Netralaya for about 10 days, which was my most vulnerable part.
Hmm.
So at that point in time, there was some. I was referred to a psychiatrist also there. Just to gauge that if I'm all right mentally, and I won't go unstable because of such a big debacle.
Hmm. Hmm.
So he certified that I'm perfectly all right. But then I internalized a lot of things at that time. Maybe meditation. I used to sleep it off.
Hmm.
Kind of thing. So probably over a period of around 10 days after my operation failed, final operation failed. That was this time, these 10 days. By the time the operation failed, I was already ready to, whatever comes my way. I mean, I had not resigned to life, but I had resigned to fate. I said, "ठीक
Hmm.
है, हो गया, nothing can be changed now. There is no technology which can get this back." So
Hmm.
probably a little bit of meditation, a lot of internalization. My mom, I don't know if that helped. My mom used to recite Ram Raksha every evening. So I don't know. All these things may have
Like,
helped, may not have helped. But then finally, time is the best healer. So
yes.
and when I was back home in Vizag, I saw my little son and my wife. So their approach to me, it was not a condescending approach at all.
Hmm.
I was very scared of sympathy. I just hated the sympathy which I got at Vizag after my accident. So I used to,
Hmm.
keep away from guys who are condescending and sympathizing with me. And I maintained my balance. Luckily, I was already under transfer to Mumbai.
Hmm.
So I was supposed to go in January, but because of the accident, it got postponed to April. So once I was in Mumbai, it was a whole new life again.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you mentioned internalizing, right?
yeah,
And typically this happens, especially when you're a man,
yeah,
right? Because there
yeah,
is no outwardly discussion, there is
yeah,
no
absolutely.
talking about it, right?
Right,
Is there anything that you can sort of share with people, men especially, who are probably going through some things in terms of what can really help them, according to you, embrace, adapt, speak out,
right,
reach out to people who are around you, your own family who may
right,
be around you, because the reason I'm saying this is because recently I read a report where, um, uh, or a video on Twitter, I think, where they say that, oh, I am a man, I can't talk.
mm,
Who do you go to when you are at your lowest? And he says, no one. I
correct,
can't go anywhere.
right,
So
right.
when you mentioned internalize, that
Yeah.
sort of came to
So
my mind, saying it's more so for men compared than to women, because we talk it out. It's
yeah,
out of our
I
system.
agree. That's a basic genetic
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
So first of all, I have no fear of crying.
Hmm.
I don't feel that if I cry, I'm not a man. Nothing like that. So some the initial days in the hospital, I used to cry. So a lot of that despair flew out through my tears.
Hmm.
I used to meditate. I used to meditate right since my training days. So I knew kind of how to meditate, how to not lose your balance. And of course, then when mom came back to the hospital, then I used to speak very freely to my mom at that point.
Hmm.
And once I got back, it was my wife and my family who finally, like you said, I used to speak freely, I used to cry freely. So I was able to get back into shape very fast, thankfully. Not in physical shape, in mental shape.
Right.
So, and then the challenge of me becoming physically unfit because of the steroids which are given to me. So
Hmm.
I internalized lot of it through rigorous physical activity. Whatever I could do, I started with little walks around and kind of
Hmm.
scaled it up. So all these things are a part of what I call internalization. It may not be the actual definition, but to me that was it.
Hmm.
So
Right.
you have to speak out, and you can cry. That is my advice to men.
Yeah. Throughout your service, were there any unforgettable moments which made you really proud of yourself?
Yeah, the first unforgettable moment which was it was a real high, was on a submarine called Wagli. So this
Okay.
submarine was in refit for 13 years. in a place called Hindustan Shipyard Limited, and we had to get it out of the refit. So it was shifted to the Navy. HSL is a non-Navy entity. It's a PSU in Visakhapatnam. So Navy decided, okay, we'll take over the repairs and all that. So the submarine was shifted to Naval Dockyard Visakhapatnam. And since I had a lot of experience on operating those kind of submarines, I was transferred to that submarine. And I was given a specific task to complete that refit and go in for what we call as a check dive. So basically, you take the submarine down, you check all the systems if they are all right. You dive to 9 meters, then you dive to 40 meters below the sea level, and you come up. So there was a lot of apprehension, a lot of fear. I mean, everybody was concerned कि 13 साल के बाद ये सबमरीन नीचे जाएगा, पहले तो नीचे जाएगा कि नहीं. The first thing. So, नीचे जाएगा तो ऊपर आएगा कि नहीं. So the amount of tension which all of us had, not only me. I was a chief engineer, so I had the most tension. But the amount of apprehension that everybody had in that Eastern Naval Command is very high. So in the morning we sailed out. We had to go a little further into the sea to get sufficient diving depth below the keel. So we started that. I said dive, 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 and we started the actions for diving. Submarine dived beautifully. So we studied at 9 meters, and when we studied at 9 meters, and when I told my commanding officer that, sir, we are stable now, shall we go down to 40 meters? He said, yeah, go ahead. So when we went down at 40 meters and stabilized, that was probably the most thrilling experience of my life. A submarine coming out of 13 years, first time going out into the sea and achieving that, diving depth. Yeah. More thrilling was that, sir, then I said, we should take a chance. Let us take her down to 100 meters. So we dived down to 100 meters. We just touched 100 meters and we came up. So that was the most thrilling experience of my life. This was towards the very initial part of my career. The most satisfying moment which I had in the last days of my career was that, see, like I told you, I was doing QA inspections and I was interacting with a lot of industry. And, so when the industry got together and said that, sir, we want to give a farewell to you because of the good job you have done for us and the help you extended us to and all that. So that was a very satisfying day for me. It has never happened in anybody's career, that career as a QA official, that the industry is giving you a farewell and appreciating and bidding you a farewell. So that probably was my most satisfying day. So
wonderful.
Beginning of career, end of career. So many mota satisfactions in between, but I would rate these as the apex level of thrill and satisfaction.
What's your thoughts on mindfulness and the benefits that can give to people?
Okay. Let me explain meditation. What meditation means for me.
Okay.
One is the meditation, which is the traditional way where you sit and dhyan laga ke, you do a little bit of breathing control and all that. That's a traditional way which since at Shivaji we had yoga in our curriculum sort of thing. So we learned that traditional manner of meditation. But then since I'm a long distance swimmer, when you swim a long distance in the pool, you're wearing that cap, you're underwater, so you can't hear much. All you can hear is your breathing. That top, your hands moving in, your breathing out. That for me, that is also meditation. Okay. So when you are able to blank out your mind completely and don't remember what thoughts you had during that period of time, that for me is meditation. The same thing is with running also. You're just having the rhythm of your enjoying the rhythm of your breathing. After some time, I'm able to blank out my mind and no thoughts come to my mind except I'm aware I'm running or I'm aware I'm swimming. So that for me is meditation. So I'm defining meditation that way. Mindfulness is being in balance, and balance defines equilibrium, is what I always say. Balance defines equilibrium. So if you're mindful, you're balanced, you're at a state where you don't get agitated much, nor much happy, nor much sad. So if you're able to achieve that, of course, elation is when you achieve something, elation is, of course, it's going to come. But then how quickly you can come back to your state of equilibrium ki, अरे मैंने ये achieve किया, अभी boss हो गया, मेरा सब खत्म हो गया, now I'm top of the world. So grounding that from an elation to back to equilibrium, or you have a debacle, you goof up at work, you lose some clients or something like that, and then if you keep brooding over it, there's no point. You have to get back, right? So coming from that low again back to equilibrium, that is what mindfulness is all about for me, and I mean should be for anybody.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And like you said, right, even when you were in despair,
Yeah.
it's that coming to that equilibrium actually helped you
Yes.
adapt, move on
Correct.
with
Correct.
the rest of the things.
It took a rather long time, but then yes, finally I could come to an equilibrium. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sameer.
Right.
It's been wonderful to interact with you. We continue to interact on Twitter, and hopefully
Sure.
we will also meet face to face someday.
Yeah,
Someday
sure.
I want to be part of, the Pune Twitterites
Twitter
meet
gang, yeah,
kind of
okay.
a meet
Sure,
kind
sure.
of a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. Most welcome.
So yeah, we will definitely try and meet up whenever possible. But
Okay.
all the very best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And that's
the pleasure of interaction was all mine. Thanks a lot. It took
likewise.
a